Hello everyone, welcome back. I got some really good ones for you today on this Thursday, September 26th, 2024. A lot's been going on with the markets and current events. That's what we're going to be focusing on for today's video, so welcome back. Glad you made it, glad we could hang out together. It's been a while since my last video, sorry about that. You know, information is kind of a lot like government issued fiat currency. They both lose value very quickly. And on this channel, I'd really like to come out here every 3 or 4 days and kind of give you guys the answers to the test as best as I can and keep everything relevant and on an even keel and from going stale and staying out ahead of the curve, you know, all things we aim to do on this channel. So let's get caught up, shall we? Apologies for that absence, but I am back and I will be bringing you as much as I can. A lot has changed, so let's keep going, right? Start with the Fed. The Fed cut 50 basis points recently. You've seen that, the rate cut. Markets pretty well digested the Fed burrito. It takes about 3 or 4 days for the market to kind of digest a Federal Reserve interest rate decision, giving the market a chance to kind of recalibrate. We've digested the Fed burrito. Stock indices hitting all-time new highs. The stock market kind of did what I suspected it would. We've been waiting for these interest rates cuts. We're getting them, and they're aggressive. You know, 50 basis points, guys, does lend itself to some sort of emergency. Market was, especially because the market really had baked in a expectation of about 25 basis point cuts so that the Fed would be more aggressive and run the risk of bringing inflation back and really stoking those asset prices higher, those rich people things higher, and making inflation worse and pushing down harder on the dollar. You know, 50 basis points, you know, well, let's get this out of the way. Fed should have raised interest rates. The Fed should have raised interest rates at the last meeting. They're not. And they should have raised to get the inflation fight finished and under control. But guys, they're letting inflation run hot, kind of how we suspected on this channel the whole time. So anyway, they should have raised interest rates, but now we're cutting them. And they should have cut by 25 basis points, but they chose 50. And now this is making a lot of market participants think, oh, there's got to be some sort of emergency, some sort of problem under the hood, some sort of uptick in unemployment or slowdown in growth that everybody should really be concerned about. Like, that's what a lot of people are saying. The Fed cut rates more aggressively because they're worried about a recession. I don't think so. I think the Fed cut interest rates because the national debt is like 36 trillion. And they got to get the national debt under control. The interest payments, you know, the interest payments on the national debt were like $1 trillion this year. So they needed to cut interest rates so that their interest payment on their insane debt level is lower. Kind of like a rate trap, like we're stuck in a regime of structurally lower and lower rates. And this really goes back to the start of the bond market bull in 1980, when rates, yields peaked and have been grinding lower for the last 40 something years. And with those rates and yields grinding lower for the last 40 something years, the debt bubble has gotten huge, and the asset prices that you've seen, these charts, they just go to the moon. Gold at all-time highs, you see this. This is just lots of Bitcoin chart. This is lots of fake money and inflation chasing a fixed amount of sound money, valuable stuff, equity in companies, square footage, you know, real estate. A lot more fake dollars are chasing that same square foot of real estate, you know what I mean? That same one gold coin. So Fed's making this problem worse with these rate cuts. This is making the problem worse. Fed should be raising interest rates above the inflation rate to break the back of inflation. They're cutting them. They're cutting them not because they think a recession's coming. Guys, I think we're in a recession if you make less than $200,000 a year, because $100,000 a year is the new 50. Have you noticed that? And I don't suspect that was by accident, that was by design. But Fed's cutting rates, policy error. They've made lots of policy errors. They're not hawkish enough. They're way too dovish. They're trying to give themselves some breathing room with their interest expense. Maybe they think a recession's coming and a recession's 6 months away, but the recession's always 6 months away. Have you noticed that yet? Have you noticed since the inception of this channel, I've never come out once and did a video crash calling and telling you to move to cash and hide under a rock and providing you a date that I got from looking at the stars for when the stock market was going to crash? You know, that right there eliminates 90% of YouTube grifters. I've been coming out here and telling you it's an opposite problem. The dollar empire is a Titanic that's sinking, and we need to get to the lifeboats. We need to get to the NASDAQ lifeboat, the Goldman Sachs lifeboat. the Bitcoin lifeboat, the Exxon lifeboat, the Amazon and Google lifeboats. And we got to get in these lifeboats because this dollar is going down. And people will say, okay, well, I'll move to Canada, or I'll move to Mexico, or move somewhere else. You can't escape the dollar empire. Those people just print their pesos or whatever currency they're using, and they're borrowing in US dollars, and they can't print US dollars, and we can borrow US dollars and print US dollars. So you see, we're kind of like the top of the fiat global Ponzi, and we have a distinct edge over any of these other Western countries. So naturally, their inflation's worse. Their problems are worse. Look at Japan. Look at how standard of living has deteriorated in Japan. You know, look at the UK, Germany, you know, so everyone's kind of taking the hit, so you can't run away. You can go to the inside corners, or you can just buckle down in like downtown LA and just really ride the lightning. But you know, things are getting difficult. The middle class is getting squeezed. Growth, we're kind of muddling along and printing a lot of money just to muddle along. This is leaving behind the middle and working class. But you can't run away. So, and that's what we've been talking about this entire time. So all the trends really we've identified even since the last videos, like nothing's really changed for me. I'd say the biggest development would be gold is, thanks to these Fed rate cuts and the deficits and geopolitical tensions, gold's moved to all-time highs recently. So priced in gold, the stock market's falling. That's crazy. And gold's value doesn't really change. It's the unit of account. You know, an ounce of gold got you a nice suit when it was worth $35 in 1970, and an ounce of gold gets you a nice suit in 2024 at $2,500. So if gold's the stable unit of account and it's outperforming the stock market, that means in real terms, the stock market is falling. But if you look at your stock app, the stock market's rising because it's priced in dollars in that, you know, it's priced in dollars, and the dollar's really getting whooped, you know? But so is every other fiat issued currency. That's why people like Bitcoin. Like, is it starting, you know, you see now how crazy this is? And mega cap tech doing really well. Guys, companies like Amazon can borrow $500 billion at like a 2% interest rate and buy their own stock with it. You know, Apple's pretty much a bank. I mean, they probably have more assets on balance sheet than most banks, you know, and they're working with like Goldman Sachs. It's crazy. Google, Apple, Goldman Sachs, Apple, like, just look at what some of those mega cap tech companies that have unlimited capital, essentially, like, you know, like Tesla's like heavily subsidized by the federal government. Tesla's like an arm of the US government in a way. But anyway, so markets are doing really well, dollar's doing poorly, the middle class is really struggling. All things we've been concerned about on this channel have become, you know, those trends are more pathological and entrenched now. It's just kind of what you got going on. Looking into my hazy crystal ball, I'm just let it ride. I say gold's going to keep moving higher, stocks are going to keep moving higher, energy stocks are going to catch up. Bitcoin's going to hit new all-time highs, I hope. We'll see. And throw garbage at me when I'm wrong, you guys. I'm not a licensed fiduciary, but you know, we've made it this far, you know. So now the question is, well, if you were in a bunch of high growth tech and Bitcoin and gold, like, are you selling? No. I'm saying I'm just sitting tight. There's no reason to start collecting dollars right as the first interest rate cut has been digested by the market. We have more cuts coming, a whole easing cycle of cuts. Rates have to structurally move lower along with those bond yields. And it's squeezing everybody, you know. And if you were a grocery store in 2020 with a 1% profit margin and they added 40% to the money supply and made your hurdle rate now like 41%, like, you can see why they've had to raise prices a lot over the last few years at a rate of about 12% per year, you know. And now we're cutting rates again, you guys. So load more inflation and more fake money and leverage into the system, you know. So that's really what I see going on. I'd say if you're in the lifeboats like mega cap tech, crypto, gold, energy, you know, you're in the right places. You could look at like uranium and things like that. Real estate, you know, If you were to get qualified right now for a $425,000 house at like a 6% mortgage rate, your income requirement might be like $9,000 a month to afford that, And a $425,000 house in my area, that's a dog box, which is ridiculous. So you can get your little dog box if you make like 10K a month. Like, are you kidding me? But there's guys, we don't really have a lot of real estate supply right now. We have high demand. They're cutting rates, which is going to increase mortgage demand. Looking into my hazy crystal ball, these $425,000 dog boxes are about to be $725,000 in the next few years. And you got to look at the institutions, you got to look at their policies, and you have to look at the knock-on effects of those policies, and that's how you kind of speculate. And that still leaves me at high growth tech. Financials would be fine too, in my opinion. I could totally be wrong, but like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, yeah, they're mopping up, and we kind of suspected that since the inception of this channel. And we kind of worried that inflation would become really bad and entrenched, and here we are. So pretty crazy, you guys, but we're going to be okay. Stay positive, we're going to keep everything on an even keel. I'll be coming out more often too to give you my 2 cents. And don't get all like weird and negative. We've talked about that on this channel for years now, and we're all right. We're doing great, so it's all good in the hood. You got Diddy the Diddler, right? Getting arrested in Gotham City. That's pretty crazy. It's like an Epstein 2.0 kind of situation. We have a problem in this country with preteen blood drinking kid diddlers running all the institutions and being gatekeepers for like people's success and being celebrities. And yeah, it's crazy, man. At the top of these networks, like the tippy top, the Beyoncés and Jay-Z's and Epstein's and whoever else, Clinton's, Trump's, Obama's, Bush, I don't care which side of the aisle you go for. Yeah, it's nasty, it's a mess, and we have a problem. And I do wonder if they do adrenochrome, which is a designer drug. I do wonder if they do that. You should look up adrenochrome. I don't know. I'm not here to tell you that they do. But guys, the money became fake. The money became fake and made the food fake. The food made like everybody fake. And then, the medicine like became about like treating symptoms and not underlying causes. So it's like we're all obese and like heavily medicated now. And, all these school shooters are on like Zoloft and stuff, which makes you, dude, shoe fly. Get out of here. Crazy. We got some real issues going on socially too, but just try to stay positive, right? Walk with God, stay healthy. If it's got veins in it, like if it's a leafy green that has like little veins running through it, it's alive, eat that, right? Eat a lot of like things that are alive. What is progress? How do we define that? I mean, if somebody came along and they're like, well, that leafy green you were just talking about, I can make it last 125-year shelf life. I go, dude, that's kind of getting away from like nature and understanding that things perish and things exist for like a short period. Think about how you define progress. Is the stock market at all-time highs progress? Now that you have to work, 80 hours a week to buy one share of the S&P 500 or one share of Meta that's now like 600 a share. Is that progress, right? Is this plane ruining the video progress? Is that noise pollution giving some kind of frequency that's like destroying my psyche? So we think sometimes we define, just be careful how you define progress. That's all I mean. And we need to start thinking in terms of real progress. And I think that looks like eating real foods, drinking lots of clean water, walking with your God, Christian, Muslim, whatever you want to do for religious. But I think it's a good time to lean into, Jesus, find Jesus and spirituality. Just go to Jesus, right? That's going to be my answer, So walk with God, walk with Jesus, stay healthy, try not to get too negative. But yeah, moving into geopolitical tensions. Guys, this is not good. I thought the red line was Gaza and Rafah. I guess not. I guess the red line is now Lebanon. You see how these theaters of war expand. You see how Ukraine moves into Russia now. Now they get what's next. Then we fire the missiles directly into Russia. Like, you see where this is going, right? And this is the beast system feeding. Whether it's on war and destruction or the meat of the middle class. You know, you make 100K a year now. That's like making 50K a year in 2019. Like, you've just been cut in half, you know? So a lot of crazy stuff going on, you guys. But I'll be back. I'll help you guys keep things on an even keel. And we're just going to keep going, all right? Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll be back in a couple days. Till next time.